Welcome to Original Scale Modelling. This is part 7 of the USS United States by Revell, scale 1 to 96. So in part 7 I'll be predominantly concentrating on putting in the jibboom. That's the mast that sticks out at the front, as well as the anchors and the mounts for the shrouds for when it's time for them to go on. So let's get into the build. So to start off with, I'm just going to finish off the walkways that I started on the previous update, and these are the ones that are going to be buttoned up to the quarterdeck. So I'm just cutting off all the loose ends and that before getting ready to place them on. Installing them was a fairly simple process. Once I had a little bit of cement, they just sat nicely onto the top of the cannon ports. The second one fitted okay as well. Needed to apply a little bit of pressure more to this one. The plastic was slightly bowing, which I never caught before I installed the rigging onto it. I'm using Revell Aquacolor 09 anthracite, and this is for the housing for the chains that lead up to the shrouds. These get placed on the side of the hull. And once the base colour was on, I used 06 tar black, and this is for the chains themselves. Fitting them was straightforward, although I had to hold them for a little bit of time for them to stay in position, but the recess points are nicely defined, so it's quite easy to find where they have to go. One of the support beams I have to go on, the main rigging lead line has to go through it. There's already a pre-drilled hole for it anyway, so I just use my threader to pull the rope through, but make sure you do this before you install it. And then it was a simple case of just pushing it into position carefully. You don't want to get any glue onto the rope, so make sure that's out of the way. So next is the midship chain mount, and like the bow, it went in rather easily. I actually didn't have to hold this one as long as the other one. And lastly, the stern one as well. Obviously it's the same on the opposite side, but you'll want to leave a bit of time to do this to make sure they're completely set. I'm using Revell Aquacolor 05 white, and this is for the jibboom housing, which will sit at the front of the forecastle on the ship. It's also time to start preparing the mast, so it's 05 white again, and this is just the base coat initially, as well as for the bowsprit. This is the little framework that sorts out the rigging underneath the jibboom. I'm using Revell Aquacolor 381 brown silk, and this is for the top part of the mast, or the jibboom. So while I've got the white paint on, I'm just going around certain areas of the on the sprue, painting in the base coat, just to save a bit of time. So it's time to build the forward mast of the bowsprit and jibboom. First of all, there's two little cleats that go in at the top. These are the little eye ringlets. I was thinking about leaving these off for now, because it is easier to thread them while they're off than install them once the rope is actually attached to them. But I think I've got enough room to do this while they're actually in situ. Putting the two masts together is fairly simple. The location points for these are well defined. Just look at how it's going to sit on the model, that way you'll be sure to get them the right way around. I'll say that because the bottom part of this, just I'm putting into the bowsprit there, is flatter, and it fits onto the main housing of the mast, or actually the main mast itself. So you do actually want to be careful with the positioning when you put this together. For the main structure of the mast, you have to put these two parts together. I would advise using a couple of clamps on here as well, just to make sure it's all holding in tight. And once it was together, there's a little collar thing that had to go in. I'm not exactly sure what it's for, but there you go. Now starting work on the anchor, so the base colour is 09 anthracite. I'm also using the same colour for these two beams that come out from the bow of the ship. For the main part of the anchor it's 302 silk black, and for the ringlets that will hold the rope. There is two anchors to make up, but it's a simple process to do. It was back to the mast, and it was necessary here to get rid of the seam lines, so I'm just using a file to file them down. Now if you're doing this, be careful because there is ridges around the mast that you want to keep, so try not to file them off. Then once that was done, it was a case of repainting the seam lines and putting on the second coat. The main crossbeam mask is 09 anthracite black. This goes onto the Jibboom and bowsprit. So it's easy to highlight at the moment before it goes on. So I'm using Tamiya's Weather and Master C and the gunmetal component here just to mark off the rings that go around the mast. And I'm using my brush sharpener to do this. This is a brush that's a foam tip, which makes it easier to apply the pigment. Next is to install the crossbeam. Now the location point for this is very small, so you want to make sure you've got a good purchase before you move on and attach this. It will move a bit if you don't. Then once that's on, there's some supporting rope that has to be threaded around, so I just tied a simple knot and wound the thread around the mast, and as I'm going along I just anchor it with a little bit of cement. Again, this just stiffens up the thread. It doesn't really make it stick to the plastic, but it does stiffen it up and it won't move and come undone. Then once it's all secure and dry, it's time to put the jib onto the main mast, and this just butts up to the main mast. There is a recess point at the tip for it to sit into, and there's a little location point at the back there where my finger is to hold the mast on. It is then reinforced with more rope work, and that just gets wound around both the jib and the main mast. This is the reason why as well that you put in the reinforced rope work on the crossbeam mast first, because it would just be a pain getting it through the jib mast. Fitting it is fairly straightforward. It just goes right into the hole that's at the front of the ship, into the housing that was built on the lower deck early on in the build, and it should just push right in. You may have to put a little bit of pressure in, but it should go in. Once the mast is on, you have to do a little bit more rope work. So I anchored the rope on the main mast, and then I'm going to be pushing it through the forepeak or the brake. That's the housing work that was done earlier on at the bow of the ship. And I'm using a needle this time because my thread is not long enough to just push the needle through the framework for all the little holes in that. Then goes through this hole on the bow, which is already pre-made for you, and up the other side like that, and then over onto the mast. Once I get it in, it can be a bit tricky. Over onto the mast, then just repeat the process until you've got a good thickness of rope going around. Next is to put in the two beams. These go through the forepeak. There's a little square there that you push them through. This is where you'll find out whether you put the forepeak in the right position. The little grate thing that I painted white and gunmetal, that's the area of concern. If you haven't got it in the proper position, it'll be very difficult to get these through. But there may be a chance that you can just push it down a little bit to get them in. Then next is the cover for the housing on the forecastle for the mast. This just butts up against a little line, a little stud work there, and it just sits in onto the anchor now. And first of all, you have to make it up. So the crossbeam section goes on first, and then the ring goes on top. And that's all there is to making up the anchor. It's a very simple process. Next is to attach it to the rope, and you take the thick rope that's gone through the bow of the ship that you done earlier on, and I just pull it through. Then once I pull it through, you double it back on itself, then hold that in position. I'm using just a clamp just to hold it down. I then take some thread and thread it over the rope to where the ring is, and making a slip knot here, just so I can tie it in tight. And then I wind the thread around the back loop until it's right to the edge. And once that's done, just a little bit of super glue to secure it. And finally, it's just a matter of snipping off the ends. It may look a little bit tricky, but it's a simple process really. Next is to fit the anchor, so I'm using my threader here just to thread through the support beam. I'm going to pull through a length of the thread here, and then tie that to the ring of the anchor, and then a second piece of thread through one of the gun ports to tie off the other end of the anchor so it holds up. Well, this will bring part 7 to an end. Got quite a bit done here on this one. As you say, I'm just finishing off the anchor. I've got the other side to do as well, but I'll do that off camera. If you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the other parts of this build, or indeed the other builds on my channel. You can also subscribe for the upcoming updates on this build and any other future builds. Throw me a like if you've like what you're seeing here today. Just hit that button and leave any comments. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.